it's Texi and happy December. So I wanted to do some kind of like Vlogmas thing for forever now, but I've never really had any kind of reason to do it or like any ideas how to make it in any way interesting. But this year I had this fun little bookish idea, so I think I'm gonna be posting like a few videos this month. Not daily because I'm already a bit late for that, but maybe a couple of videos a week. We'll see how this goes. You may have already seen the title, but the idea here is that I'll be reading one chapter from 24 books in my TBR and then giving them some kind of rating based on how interesting the first chapter is. I have totally stolen this idea from Books and Lala because she did this way earlier this year where she read like the first chapter of 100 books or something. It sounded like a really good idea to see if like the books I have are in any way interesting still, because I have had some of these books for literal years. So it's a good way to kind of go through them and see if I'm still into them and if I should prioritize any of them. So I have this beautiful rating system. I'll be using like basically a 5-star system, so I'll be using these 5 colors. So there's pink, purple, blue, green and yellow. Once I have read a chapter, I'll just leave one of those little tabs in the book to see how I felt about it, so I can still remember it like later. So I have 3 books now. Since it's gonna be the 3rd by the time this video is up, I have read first chapter of these 3 books and they all already have very different ratings, so we're off to an interesting start. First, I read the first chapter of Gallant by V.E. Schwab, and this book is like an Illuminate edition that's like super beautiful. Just kinda happy to own it simply because of that, because I appreciate beautiful books. But unfortunately the first chapter didn't really seem that interesting to me. I only gave it a blue tab, which is basically like 3 stars, because it sounded very basic starting setting for a fantasy book like this. So like an orphan girl who has grown up in some kind of very often a church type situation when everyone kinda doesn't like her, and then obviously I already know the situation is gonna change in some way that she gets to leave the place or is forced to leave the place, and suddenly her life kinda improves from there. So for example, Vespertine or Sorcery of Thorns are great examples of this. I loved both of those, but this just felt very similar in the vibes. I'm not like gonna prioritize this in any way, but I'm sure I'll pick this up at some point. Just not my top priority right now. And the next book I read the first chapter of was Legends and Lattes, and I don't know why I still haven't read this book actually, because I already know I'm gonna love it. And like based on the first chapter I gave it a pink tab, which means 5 stars basically. Like it sounded super nice, and I actually read the first chapter in a cafe, which was very fitting. I didn't even plan it, I just grabbed a book to take with me since I knew I had to wait at a cafe like in half an hour or something. And this is the one I grabbed. And it was perfect. I know it's gonna be cute. I don't think this book has any romance in it, which is fine. It's just gonna be like starting a cafe and being chill. So this will definitely stay high on my list. And the third one for this video is Iron Widow, which is also an Illuminate edition and also really pretty. It has these edges and there's this artwork on the inside of the dust jacket too, and then there's the beautiful thing on the actual cover, and yeah, it's really cool. I love Illuminate editions. Yeah, this one I knew was going to be tricky because I know it's like kind of a mecha fantasy story, and mechas are like my least favorite type of sci-fi there is. I just don't find it interesting in any way, but I was still interested in this book because I have heard really great things about it. The inspiration of it being set in like a alternative universe, China, I think. That side of it sounds really interesting, but the mechas not so much. But I ended up giving it a purple tab, which is 4 stars, because even though the prologue was... By the way, I will always include prologue if there is one, because there's no point skipping that. Yeah, the prologue really did not interest me at all, because it was a basic mecha battle situation. Like, I understood the purpose of it, to kind of like explain how the mecha stuff works and the pilot stuff, but that was just kind of making me go a bit, oh no, this isn't gonna be good. But then the first chapter was a lot better and actually got me interested, so I definitely still want to read this. I'm always there for a little female revenge story. That's always a good time, because this book is about like these basically mecha pilots, and for some reason to kind of be able to pilot the mechas, they need to have like two pilots, and there's usually like a man and a woman, and the man kind of like steals or uses up the life force of the woman while piloting, and usually that leads to the woman dying, and the main character's sister was apparently killed by one of those pilots, so she's gonna enlist to take revenge. So yeah, I'm interested in that. Don't know when I'm gonna read this, but I definitely still want to. So yeah, that's the 3 books we are starting this mini vlogmas with. I think I'll try to include like 3 to 4 books per video, so there will be another update in, I guess, 3 to 4 days. So subscribe if you're interested in more like book sneak peek situations. That's it for this video. Bye!